G'day and welcome to the Safety at Work blog update. I think we're about episode 6. It's been a couple of months since I did this last. It's been a very busy couple of months, so please forgive me for not keeping you up to date. Probably one of the major things that has happened over the last month or two was the Congress of the Australian Council of Trade Unions. I went up there to Brisbane to cover the Congress and to have a look at the OHS context of what the trade union movement in Australia was looking at, but also what they were looking at for the next couple of years, what they were planning. Sadly, the ACTU locked the media representatives out of both the awards dinner but also out of the workshops. So there were at least 3 workshops that were specific to do with occupational health and safety, but no information was allowed to be published from that. So that was rather disappointing. But there have been a couple of articles in the Safety at Work blog on it. There's probably going to be another couple as well as we lead up to the Congress for the Australian Labor Party, which is happening in December, which I hope to cover. That one's going to be more open, I'm sure, but also given that there's going to be an election probably in May of 2019, health and safety might get a bit of a go. We'll certainly have a look. Certainly the trade union movement's continuing to push with its industrial manslaughter laws. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Also, I've been involved with an incident investigation for council, which has been interesting and something that look, it's what was I going to say? Meat and potatoes. It's what occupational health and safety consultancy is all about. We have to investigate incidents, even thankfully, if they're not fatalities and they're near misses and whatever else. So it's that's been time-consuming, but rewarding, and we'll see how we go with that one and what comes out of it. Also, there's been I've had a couple of phone calls from a couple of clients about incident notifications, whether we should talk to WorkSafe, let them know that such and such has happened, or so and so has gone to a doctor. Look, the rule of thumb that I apply is that if somebody's going to a doctor and getting medical treatment, it's likely that it is something to be notified to WorkSafe. You can double check this in the regulations to make sure that what is a notifiable incident and you're clear on. But WorkSafe has said that they're more than happy, I suppose that's an odd phrase, but they're happy to be notified of incidents that are not necessarily technically notifiable. They can triage these things and filter them out in terms of inspectors' responses, but it also has a good way of building up a relationship with the WorkSafe inspectorate. So there's good and bad, but you're always going to get into trouble for not telling them, but you'll only get in a little less trouble if you tell them too much. Anyway, I've also been reviewing some documentation for rail infrastructure. As some of you would know, that I was involved with rail infrastructure construction for quite a few years just recently, and so I'm looking at some documentation from that sector, which has been very good. Over the next couple of months, I'm attending and speaking at a couple of conferences. One conference I'm speaking at is Safety Connect, which is in Brisbane for the National NSCA Foundation. I've got to get that name right. I'm talking about business bullshit and how it relates to workplace safety. So we'll see how we go there, because sadly, there never seems to be an end to bullshit. There's also the ComCare conference. Now, ComCare is a national OHS body looking after government departments and some private companies. They have their conference down here in Melbourne, so I'll be covering that for a couple of days. It's in the past it's been very white collar, but it's very well resourced, and the government departments, do treat occupational health and safety relatively seriously. But they've also been leading, I think, in the psychological risk and hazard controls. So it's it's worth listening to what goes on at a ComCare conference to see what's going to happen elsewhere in large organisations over the next couple of years. I'm also attending a one-day Perth safety symposium that's being organised in Western Australia. It's a sort of a, they call it SafetyX. It's sort of, they're trying to get TEDx into the safety conference and seminar fields. I think it's a really interesting challenge. Certainly something I've got to skill up about. I think the topic I'm talking about is the democratization of safety. We'll have to see what comes of that. Also, in the next week or two, I have an exclusive interview with the author of a book called Whitewash. It was released last year, and it's an investigative journalist report into the multinational company Monsanto and its use of Roundup and other corporate governance issues. The author is fantastic. She's coming to Australia to attend the Bendigo Writers Festival, and I've been given the opportunity to talk to her. Hugely topical, given over this last weekend the use of Roundup was generated a multi-million-dollar penalty award in the US courts. So whether that has much to do with the Australian situation, I don't know, but it does indicate the seriousness of the issue elsewhere. So I'll leave it at that. I think I've gone, given plenty of time. There's a couple of new books that are out, but I'll leave that for another video update in the next week or two, because there's some really very interesting books that have come out. But please visit the SafetyAtWorkBlog.com to read the articles that I write about health and safety issues. The blog topics and themes is expanding all the time, and which is a challenge for a person who is a one-person writer of these issues, but it is a challenge that I think more of us have got to do, and I'm happy to keep going with it. So, my name is Kevin Jones. Thank you very much for watching or listening to this Safety at Work blog update. Please visit the site, SafetyAtWorkBlog.com. Subscribe if you can. The prices are, I think, are reasonable. And yes, I hope to talk to you at conferences. I hope to meet you at conferences, and I hope to communicate with you over the internet and any other way we can. Thank you for watching us today.